In today's episode of the Pathmonk Presents podcast, I got a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Kathleen Leigh and she's heading over from the folks over at Xngage. And we want to be talking about B2B e-commerce today. This is what they do, digital B2B, digital commerce experiences. And of course, in that matter, we want to talk about ROI. That's obviously key when we talk about digital experiences, driving traffic, driving conversions, and driving results. For that, I have Kathleen on the show today. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lucas. Nice to see you, and hello to our audience today.
Of course, nice to have you. Maybe let people know a little bit more about the company. What you guys all about in your own words.
Absolutely. Xngage is at core a systems integrator. So we'll do things like take an ERP, an enterprise resource planning document system, and we start connecting things to it. Things like product information management systems, content and commerce systems. So if you're in the business of e-commerce, or perhaps even if you aren't, you'd want to talk to Xngage to perhaps do a digital strategy to see where do you want your customers to go, similar to what you do on a journey. And we want to make sure that all those systems are properly integrated for the best digital experiences.
Awesome. Very cool. That is very succinct. What types of business are you working with? Like, who would be sort of a sweet spot customer?
Yeah, Xngage primarily works with B2B customers. And we found that this was an underserved need several years ago. And the company was formed to try to really advance business to business digital commerce. We work with companies anywhere from multiple million to multiple $billion who are in the distribution and warehousing business, wholesale as well. And we have clients like Royal Canin and Mars Pet Supply Company, other clients such as Warner Electric and Mayer Electric as well. Places where we think it's important to advance that digital journey, where more and more people are coming online to transact. And according to certain resources and research, orders as big as $500 million being placed online. So we want to make it easy for people to shop and or do any kind of operational activity online.
Very cool. That makes a whole lot of sense. Now, actually, it's quite interesting because, we've seen on the show actually quite some B2B e-commerce related space. And what turns out to be often is that there is an e-commerce section, but very often then lead generation becomes really important because every bit, big deals are actually coming through those lead forms. What do you typically see as, how are these e-commerce experiences and pages different to like a typical e-commerce B2C case?
That is such a great question. I'm so glad you asked it, Lucas, because people sort of want to comport the B2B experience from a B2C experience that they've already had. So for instance, the things that you do and you shop in major ways on B2C, people want those same experiences in B2B, but because in B2B environments, people are much more interested in doing jobs, checking inventory, managing inventory, checking fleets of truck. They want those additional experiences as well. So it's really important to have a very tight interconnected system in your technology ecosystem, because that allows those digital experiences to work most effectively for both the buying and the sell side. So I often talk about that in podcasts as well, because we need to onboard the salespeople. Those are the people that are curating collections for the buyers, and they're doing the work to make sure a customer journey is as effective as possible, but they're also making sure they're servicing a customer. So when we do integrations and we look at new ways of getting to your customer, we're thinking about customers both in terms of the B2B end user buyer as well as the sellers.
Makes sense. Very cool. Now, who do you typically engage with on that B2B side? Like, who is that? Is it like a marketer? Is it like head of sales that is reaching out? Like, who are you guys working with?
The short answer is yes. It really depends on where the project starts. Sometimes it starts in a C-suite. You might have a chief information or chief technology officer who's very interested in this. But you also might have people that are in the sort of rank and file e-commerce space, like a director of e-commerce, et cetera, who are looking at these projects and saying, wow, I've suddenly been tasked with, I have to make a number. I have to hit a number relative to e-commerce sales. And that can be anywhere in the organization with enough of an interest to make sure there's a digital transformation happening and that all these things are connected, and that the end of the day, the C-suite is happy that we've made a wise investment. So Lucas, this is a great opportunity for me to talk a little bit more about ROI, if that's okay.
Of course.
Great. So when we talk with people about ROI, we always tell them, make sure you're getting credit for all the good work that you do. Often when I give presentations or talk to clients, when we're looking at what am I getting for return on investment, the first thing they pull out is, well, let's look at e-commerce sales. And yes, that's absolutely important. But what about other things that you're not getting credit for? Going back to the buy and sell side, if somebody is going to your website first, then shopping online, and maybe not even placing an order through the website, that should still get attribution. Your website should still get credit for that. So we just talk to people about simple ROI math. Look at your numerator and your denominator. The numerator, are you looking at things like your EDI orders? Are you looking at things like those kinds of conversions I just talked about? And in the denominator, are you looking at sort of the total cost of the picture? Are you actually saving money by people self-servicing through your website? These are all parts of a bigger ROI that when you step back, you can say, hey, I should be getting more credit for this.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, and I think it's very important, especially to in the digital B2B commerce experience, to bring that in and hone that in. Now, what I would be curious about, since we're talking about, the websites of your customers, I'd be curious about your take on the Xngage website. What role does the Xngage website play for their journey to get started?
Absolutely. So we do a pretty solid lead generation program, but you're right, there's always ways to improve it, isn't there? That's kind of the role that PathMonk plays, of course. And so we have people coming to us, maybe after having seen a trade show or a presentation from Xngage, and we try to funnel them directly to where we think they most want to go. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't, but we increasingly are using things like AI to help people navigate their way to the right spot so that it reduces the number of clicks to get to where they want to go. So we on the website for Xngage show information like a newsroom. Sometimes people want information on what's happening in technology, case studies, a place where people can go and see the quality of our work and some of the clients that I recently mentioned. And then other times people want to vector into some of the other services that we offer in addition to website development and help them to run their entire ecosystem more effectively.
Gotcha. That makes a whole lot of sense. Now, actually, you've seen a lot of websites. You've seen a lot of B2B websites. What's something that you've learned when it comes to, those conversions that you mentioned? Something that you've learned, any approach, methods, tools that you feel are very important for those guys to, driving conversions?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I just read a blog about this. If you go to xngage.com or xngage.com, I talk about the ways to accelerate your e-commerce journey. And one of the things I've talked about in there is taking the time to look at what people are doing elsewhere. And one of the things we do when we do client engagement is say, hey, what are your peers or people you admire doing? As part of that exercise, I have found some really neat things, such as being able to have information at the cart transported through the customer journey so that when it shows up, there's a cross-sell opportunity. Now, candidly, that only begins with really good product data if it's web ready. And so we often talk about that on our website as well, because we want people to have those best opportunities to merchandise what they're doing each and every day and have the benefit of the system helping them. In addition to that, we've got innovation going on with some of our customers in B2B, things that you wouldn't be thinking about. Things like how to make products around training, for instance. These are ways that people are rethinking the digital experience and trying to add on to that cart, make more of a sale, and in some cases, reduce the burden operationally on some of their customers.
Makes sense. Very, very exciting. Now, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about yourself as a marketer, right? We talked about Xngage a bit. I'd be curious, with all the content out there, so much noise, marketing, books, podcasts, shows, episodes, blog posts, case studies, where do you find information that's actually helpful for you in your marketing career?
Oh, that's a great question. Sort of everywhere and at any time, because, obviously with crawlers, people are serving up content to me because of similar content that I've seen before. And so the more I search, the more I'm attracted to and attracted by content marketers. And so I sort of look at everything because I think it's important to be able to be in a space where you have a vast amount of information. But particularly, I look at things associated with research companies, other companies that are doing best practices in web design, all with an effort to try to improve what I do in order to help my customers be their best.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today.
Okay.
Really good. What is the last book you read?
Oh gosh, that's a great one. I read a book on being a leader, and I think it's really important to create a great culture at your company. The last book that I really read with a great earnest was around being humble, smart, and helpful. And it's a combination of things that will help you be a leader, because if you are humble and you take advice from other people, you're going to be smarter. And then if you're smarter, you're also going to be able to be more helpful in helping your clients.
Gotcha. If there would be no boundaries in tech, you got a magic wand. What's the one single
Ooh.
thing that you would fix for your role as a marketer?
Okay, well, I'm super curious about ChatGPT and what's going on in that space. If I could make that a really powerful tool that also would give attribution to the content creators, I would love to be able to do that.
Nice. Very good. And for the very last question, I would like to do a little bit of time travel. If we go back to the University of Chicago, if you allow, right?
Okay, okay.
You're heading out of formal education into the world of, business and marketing and growth. What's the one advice you would give yourself for that journey?
Wow, that is such a great question, Lucas. I would say be open to the dynamically changing landscape of digital. Over the course of the last 10 years, where I've delved into some really deep areas of digital, I never thought I would be here today. But in being open and honest about where things are headed, and sometimes being exploratory and curious in your nature, it always ends up in a good place.
Kathleen, I really appreciate you joining us today for the Pathmark Presents podcast. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Xngage, what's the one thing people should remember?
Well, Xngage is in the business of delivering business impact digitally. Thinking about your business, we want it to run better. We want digital tools to make it run more effectively for you. Call us at Xngage if you think that that's something that you'd like to do.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Thank you for having me.